Hey everybody, welcome to another lesson here in Science 24 in the chemistry unit. This lesson here we are going to start out by talking about some of the common reactions in our lives, specifically talking about useful reactions first. However, before we start talking about any useful reactions within our lives, we need to know what is a chemical reaction. And a chemical reaction occurs when two or more substances react to produce new substances with different properties from the original substance. Now it's kind of a word jumble, a lot of words there. But really what you have going on is you're gonna have two things. They're gonna come together, they're gonna react, they're gonna mold, they're gonna do something together. It's kind of like a dance, and then they're gonna produce something new. And it's gonna be different than the original two things that were coming together. Some common chemical reactions that we know. So first one would be hydrogen and oxygen react to produce water and energy. The energy produced in this simple reaction provides lift for a space shuttle. Taking an antacid to treat acid indigestion. So the antacid reacts with the acid in your stomach to neutralize it. So you see those commercials on TV where they're taking antacids. Okay. Leaving a banana out for a few days, you notice it turns from green to yellow to brown. And these changes are obviously occurring. So you have whitening whites. So household bleach contains either hydrogen peroxide or sodium hypochlorite. Both contain oxygen. Oxygen, which is responsible for the reaction that makes the colored stains colorless. You have baking bread. A baker combines flour, yeast, liquid, salt, and other flavors. The flour releases starch and proteins when it is milled. And when flour is mixed with water and yeast, the enzymes in the yeast break down the starch into glucose. Swimming pool scent. So have you ever noticed that swimming pools smell a lot like chlorine? I wonder why. This is because chlorine is added to the water to produce hypochlorous acid. Hypochlorous acid kills microorganisms by destroying their cell walls and breaking down their enzymes. In digestive enzymes within our body, within our mouth, we have amylase in our saliva, which breaks down starches into simple sugars. So just next time when you're eating, throw a piece of bread in your mouth and don't bother chewing it. Just let it sit there and sop up all the saliva in your mouth, and it'll eventually start to break down and get really, really soggy. In your stomach, you have protease, speeds up the breakdown of proteins into amino acids. Amino acids are really the building blocks of proteins. And in your intestines, you have lipase, breaks down fats into glycerol and fatty acids so they can be absorbed and used by our body. Next section we're going to talk about are some changes that occur in relation to chemistry. So in a chemical reaction, on the left side, if you've ever noticed, you kind of have this arrow where you'll see it when you're reading it, it says to produce. This arrow means produce. And on the left side, or everything that's written first, is our reactants. So you see my cursor here. On the right side, or after the word produced, everything is called products. So again, the substances that are there before the reaction are reactants. The substances that are there after the reaction are the products. Okay, indicators of a chemical change. We may have gases being given off, such as bubbling. We may have a precipitate or a solid that is formed. We have a color change that may have occurred. We may have an odor or a smell giving off. And energy is given off. So heat, light, sounds are form of energy. Now there are two types of chemical reactions that we want to talk about. We have combustion and neutralization. So combustion is a type of reaction in which a substance combines with oxygen to produce heat and light. And if you go back to the beginning there where we talked about some common reactions in relation to hydrogen and oxygen and the rockets being shot off. Okay, so a match burning, this would be an example of combustion reaction. Neutralization reactions occurs when an acid and a base react to produce a salt compound in water. Now the pH of a product is more neutral or closer to 7 than either of the reactants. So example, taking an antacid to treat acid indigestion. The antacid is a base that reacts with the hypochlorous acid in your chloric acid in your stomach to produce magnesium chloride, which is a salt compound, and water. And then the last part we're going to talk about is energy and chemical reactions. So chemical changes always involve energy changes. So a reaction can either be endothermic, where the energy is absorbed by the reaction, so it's taking in energy. So an example, photosynthesis is a process in which plants absorb energy from the sun in order to produce glucose and oxygen. Or it can be exothermic reaction, where energy is released. So a forest fire releases heat and light, which are both forms of energy. And there's another large variety of more types of reactions of endothermic and exothermic. Endothermic, if you're taking in, say, a cold pack, it's taking in the energy. Exothermic reactions, anything again that's giving off heat or light is most likely an exothermic reaction. So there's just some examples about some common reactions that you see. So different terminology. Hope you're able to take something from that. And thanks for listening.